Alright. Introduction to Computers, BCA-101, 1416. We are in week 12. So, we reviewed a few terms. Actually, we did quite a bit of in-class project today. I re-emphasize how much of our world works in a client server. Your device is the client, and it's off and accessing a server. What we worked with lately are web pages, or a web server, in which we access, client goes out to the server, gets the HTML comes back to the client, and a browser interprets it. How fast that all moves, bandwidth. We reviewed that, bits per second, and we distinguished that from a byte because a byte measures quantity. So it's good. We talked about data, the integrity of the data we should understand, okay, confidentiality of the data, and the fact we have to make the data available. Where is that data? We did an example, we talked about it. We have to be concerned when it's stored, when it's in transit, when it's moving between two locations, and while it's in a computer, while it's being processed. It's in memory. And we gave an example. A student looked up a IP for Facebook, and he said it logged him right into his Facebook. Well, I said the information about Facebook is already in your RAM. It's in your memory of your computer. So if somebody would get your computer and they're wise enough or understood how to get that information out. Alright, how do we protect? We have products, and we talked about those today, or yesterday. Firewall, it can be a device or software. A firewall, so we have this firewall here. What it does is it blocks traffic from coming into the outside. But if you have traffic coming from the inside, like going to the internet, it creates a little hole to allow that traffic back in. But if traffic generates on the outside, this bad traffic gets blocked. So that's how a firewall works. Now, intrusion prevention or intrusion protection, you can use either term. It's software that monitors your network so it can identify an intrusion, somebody there or something happening that shouldn't be happening. And you might say, well, if we've got good firewalls and good protection, I've got a firewall on my PC and so forth. Well, the problem is a lot of hackers or a lot of people get in by fooling people to let them in. Okay, so at least we have a way when something bad is starting to happen to a network, we can identify it and stop it. And then they talk about virus, malware, spyware, so those type of things. All businesses now, everywhere, any business or anywhere is managed data needs a security policy. And I jokingly said, there was security policies forever. Don't cross the street unless you look each way. Don't take candy from a stranger. Don't talk to strangers. All the things you learn to keep you safe when you grew up. There's some type of policy. There's some type of rules that help protect us. And here in this class, we're talking primarily about protecting data, but it goes beyond that. We're talking about protecting the individuals and the business and so forth. And people make up a business. That's why having a policy that clearly states what people can do and explains how to carry out the policy, procedures. And then we have policies and guidelines. You ought to change your password, and you ought to use different passwords for different things. So if one thing gets compromised, the same password isn't compromised everywhere. And policies are things you have to do. This is the rule. This is what's set up. These are what we can do with your data, and this is so you understand what you should do. And we're talking primarily about securing data, but it could be lots of things within a company. So at the beginning we did Google AdSense, and we talked about Facebook, and how people will put news articles on Facebook and link you to some website. The website will use AdSense to sell ads, and what they had found recently, especially with the political situation we've had here in the country for the last year, was other countries were putting advertisements or what appeared to be news articles on Facebook with false information, but to sensationalize it, so they put something really bad out there about one candidate, so this whole group would lynch him, latch onto that, or something bad about the other candidate. All of a sudden this political group, the right and the left, all of a sudden they have millions of people going to their site to read these false articles, which then generated money for them. So they're using us gullible Americans to make money. And I had an actual article I showed. Asked students if they had any questions. Unit 6 is finished this week. Skills-based is Wednesday. The project was due last night, Monday night. The project was due. All right. That's it for today.